Good to see you all.
So we're waiting for a few more bills to finish up. The drafting is really complicated for health and for human services. I think the Senate and the House call these bills by different names. I call the Robert Bierman, Melissa Wickland one the health bill. I call the Noor Hoffman one human services. Both of those are very, very complicated bills that have a lot of money that is spent and a lot of complicated programs. And the way that the review on these bills works is the reviser drafts language, sends it to GOP House Chair, DFL House Chair, Senate Chair, and the agency. Everybody then gives their feedback and sends it back, and then it has to be recirculated by that group again. So for these very long bills, that takes a huge amount of time. It's complicated. There's a lot of specialists that have to review the language, not just politicians who aren't implementing the law. So there's a very significant time delay while we wait for the health bill and the human services bill to be finished. Transportation is very close to wrapping. My understanding was there was some technical language that was slowing up the posting of the transportation bill. Traditionally, we haven't negotiated the special session agreement until all those bills have been posted online in final form. And traditionally, the special session agreement will list all of those very specifically and state that those are the items of business in a special session. So I know people are getting frustrated. They're like, what's going on? What's going on? What is a real part of this process is the delay in getting the bills done so that we can have the conversation about how does the special session work. And then once all the bills are done, we move into the logistics of votes in the House and Senate, order of bills, which bills start in the Senate, which bills start in the House. We are going to begin having that conversation today. We're also going to talk about the items that the tax chairs agreed to before we took the bill away from them. There were some technical things that they had agreed to, some non-money things, and we're going to see if we can get some of those technical non-money things added back in.
I think one of the features of this year in particular, because we didn't finish on the 19th, means that we are doing the thing that we both Speaker Emerita Hortman and I support, which is making sure people have the time to do with diligence the work to review all of the policy so that we don't make mistakes. And we know there have been times when mistakes have been made when we are urgently rushing something through. So we're using the time to make sure that what we intend is put into the policy. And the reviser and the nonpartisan staff are able to do that work and get a little sleep, which is really important to me. You know, if you are short sleep, it is the same as being impaired by alcohol. We don't want that for any of us, and gratefully people are able to do this work in the way that we need them to, and do it with the brilliance that they bring to the work every day. So we are making progress. It is as slow as molasses, but molasses is good. And we are going to get done. I cross my fingers.
Have you told members to be ready to come in this weekend? I know Eid is Friday, or is it now pushed to next week since these drafts aren't done?
I think that right now my money would be on Saturday for the special session. It looks like we're not going to make it for tomorrow. I think that there's a far outside possibility that we could be ready for a special session on Thursday. But I would say that's maybe like a 5% chance at this point. And then when you take the holiday into account, I think it's very realistic to think that it could happen on Saturday. It's really important for us to get it done before June 10th so that additional layoff notices don't have to go out to state employees. We know that nurses received about, I think somewhere between 750 and 950 nurses received notices that were sent to be received on June 1st. But there's between 10 and 20,000 employees, I believe, that would be impacted by the next round of layoff notices. So we are urgently trying to get done before June 10th so that there are not additional layoff notices that have to go out.
How long will it take? How long will a special session last? It's hard to have control over that, isn't it?
The agreement will probably require it to be 1 day. That's the hope, that it would be 1 day. And, you know, it would be nice if we weren't working through the night, if we could have reasonable length debates on these bills and people could make public comments in press conferences before we even get to the floors so that we're not on the floor for forever. I don't want to be in a situation where we're debating bills at 4 in the morning, but a legislative day goes from 7 a.m. to 7 a.m.
But can you get 201 lawmakers to agree to that and not offer amendments and all of the other things they could do?
Well, we need 68 votes in the House and 34 in the Senate to pass bills. We need 90 to suspend the rules and speed things up in the House and 45 in the Senate. And we are working toward getting the 68 votes we need to pass the bills and the 90 votes we need to suspend the rules in the House, and then the similar numbers in the Senate.
And then we'll do our level best to make everyone use their vote to express their support for the bill rather than long speeches.
So you don't yet have the votes to pass these agreements locked down in your vote counts.
What I will say is that I signed an agreement that committed my caucus to deliver votes to pass bills, and we will deliver the votes to pass those bills, and I expect that the other leaders will do the same. But we're not at the point where we have caucused every single bill. So last night we did 3. The night before I feel like we did 5. And we still have to caucus these bills that are not done being written. So you can't ask people, will you vote for a bill, until the bill is done being drafted and they can find all the things that they like and don't like about the bill.
Senator Johnson didn't sign that agreement. Are you having conversations with him about getting enough Senate votes to suspend the rules?
He and I are doing some discussion, yes.
How are those going?
Going well.
Is there something specific in the health bill and the human services bill? Is it like a policy dispute, or is it more technical that's holding it up?
They are very significant parts of the state budget. I think together they represent about 20% and growing of the state budget. So billions and billions of dollars, and it affects the most vulnerable people in our state. So it's just really important to get it right.
And I want to say that
Have you agreed on whether undocumented healthcare will?
I would like to say, we have talked a lot about the negotiations, but we haven't talked that much about the legislation. And I think it is important to recognize that these pieces of these bills that make up the budget have been fiercely negotiated and represent real progress. And I think that when all of us, including our members, have a chance to unpack what has been done in health, or in our committee, Health and Human Services, and what has been done in Human Services, to see the work necessary to make sure the most vulnerable are protected, I think it will earn the support of Minnesotans across the state. So this has been a long session, but there has been important, diligent work done by our members across the bodies, both caucuses, both parties, all caucuses, to get to this point. It's important to acknowledge that.
Yeah, we talked about
undocumented healthcare cuts traveling in a standalone bill or as part of the human services bill.
That is important to my caucus, and I think that's what's going to happen.
What is that part of the discussion? Because Speaker Damith said that she doesn't feel that that's a path forward.
Yeah, I think we'll just leave it there, but I think what Leader Murphy just said is very important, that we're kind of all talking about the horse race and the logistics right now of what's done when, but we really do need to have more conversation about what's in all of these bills. And I think through the bipartisan work in the House and the work in the Senate, that there's a lot of really good content that we're also anxious to dive in with you.
Yeah.
Once we get past the agreement being
Is
drafted.
there going to be a rollback of the non-compete ban, partial or full rollback? Are you discussing that at the leadership level?
We are not.
How do you avoid what happened at the end of last session where everybody was talking over each other when this goes to special session? Can you mute people, or how does that going to work?
Well, I can't mute anybody. I had the mute button removed. It was my first active speaker in 2019. No. What happened at the end of last session is that we had a DFL majority in the House, we had a DFL majority in the Senate, and we had the longest filibuster of any minorities in state history. We had 51 hours on the collected bill, and we had to use a parliamentary procedure that's available to the majority, because the rules protect not only the minority's right to be heard, but the majority's right to govern. So the difference is we're tied this year. So there's no, you've noticed a lot shorter debates in the Minnesota House of Representatives, because there's no utility in us fighting against each other. We have to work together to get these things done. And the big difference last year was Republicans hated everything we were doing, and they were literally laying on the railroad tracks to stop all of it. And this year, we've built the railroad tracks together. So it's just a very different session.
Folks, we got to get a little bit of the meeting. Thank you. Thank you.